some of the key takeaways is they're definitely looking for business partner roles. They're definitely not looking for kind of, without it sounding like patronizing, but like secretarial roles. They're not looking for the old school skills. They're looking for the new school skills. They're looking for executive assistants to take them to the next level. And their words is business partner. So that's really great. They're seeing the value that executive assistants are bringing to that C-suite level. We're seeing more chief of staff roles, which was something that wasn't a big thing in Australia. It was very American. We just didn't really pick it up here. If we did pick it up here, it wasn't in an admin capacity. It was like a consultant, strategic type, different kind of role. Like it wasn't an admin type role. And I'm seeing a lot more chief of staff roles, which is fantastic because they're now understanding the value of that role in Australia. And what was the other one that I was seeing? A lot more career admins. So when I was coming up, oh, wow, that sounds old. It was a lot of admins that were just coming through and they were stepping stoning to better things. So they were, oh, I'll do this till I can get to this. I'll do this till I can get to that. Whereas now we're seeing career admins, and we're doing a survey soon, actually. We've just done a pre-survey to make sure that it works. And it was quite funny to see the amount, like from what the statistics I used to see to now is how long the longevity of the people are staying in the admin career, which is really great to see. So obviously it's now been seen as a valued career in Australia. So yeah, it's great news over this way.
That's exciting. I like everything that you've said there, the longevity of assistance and also the ability to move in and up within the role. It's very exciting. Hilani, to bring you in, what's happening where you are?
You know, it's exciting. I have chills because while we are in 3 different continents, she's talking about some of the trends I'm seeing here in the United States. While yes, as you mentioned, chief of staff is more prominent here in our country. You know, gone are the days of secretary. And you said the word, and I think we need to own it was a part of the evolution, right? Where it all started. I have an article on my website about the evolution of this career, which I really enjoyed writing to put it together to share that wisdom. There's kind of 2 categories before you sort of think of that upper tier chief of staff. There's the conveyor belt, which has a strong purpose inside certain organizations, right? Very tactical, very process driven. And then there is, which you mentioned, which is a word beautifully spreading across the globe, that strategic business partner. And just recently I've started adding to that the analyst. When we think of what an analyst does inside an organization, you know, they're inquiring, they're asking questions, they're providing some positive pushback. And we don't traditionally think of an analyst as another indicating word for what that strategic business partner is. And so for the work that I'm doing here in the country, while yes, very prominent in Denver, as I'm starting to talk about the executives, think of your analyst, right? Those on your team that are evaluating deals or that are helping you decide what the next strategic move is. That sort of falls into the umbrella of how this individual is going to change your life in a really good way. And I've definitely seen chief of staff. From my view with the work and exposure I have, there's a large gap from sort of that senior executive assistant to chief of staff, that some that think of chief of staff as that next move may be scary because are they putting an expiration date on their career? So should they be thinking of a different title in between to sort of keep working towards chief of staff? Because maybe too early in your career, you get that COS title. What does that say on your resume? How might that actually be a negative against you because there's a high price tag for you? So there are so many things to be used in consideration, but really chief of staff. And that if anyone's thinking kind of in a promotion, executive coordinator, I've advised often, as well as executive administrator, is just some smaller titles to keep moving you to that larger goal, which is chief of staff.
Yeah, there's so much I want to come back to all of that. But before we do, I want to find out what's happening with you, Lily, and in the UK. So jump in, please do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would echo really what you've both said. I think that the I think there's definitely more EA roles than there are PA roles. I do think there are still PA roles out there, and they are more on the proactive side than they are necessarily kind of, 5-10 years ago. It was potentially more of a reactive role, shall we say?
Great point.
So I think there's a need there, but I think there is more of an awareness from the executive's point of view of what an executive assistant actually is. I think people are starting to understand more, and don't get me wrong, there's still a long way to go, but I think there's more understanding of what the difference is between a PA and an EA. Obviously, there are job titles that can differ. I totally get that. But that true strategic business partner, that extension of that CEO, I think when I speak to CEOs, and I say they should be that extension of you, it's like the penny kind of drops almost if they've not had one before, especially.
Mm-hmm.
I think as far as the chief of staff role goes, we've definitely seen more, which is fantastic. And again, I think there's more of an understanding of what that actually is. I think in the UK, it was, you started to see these titles and it was like they were coming from America, and it was, this kind of title that you maybe would aspire to kind of get to, but it was like, what is it? What would I be expected to do? And I think it still differs from one role to the next, but there's more of an understanding of how that shift happens from an EA role to a chief of staff role. And obviously if it is for you, like you say as well. So yeah, it's great to see so many of the kind of the high level roles coming through.
Lily, just to ask that question, and please everybody feel free to jump in, but I just wonder if within the UK market, if people who are looking for chief of staff roles are looking to either the EAs within their organisation to step up, or are recruiting from the EA market, EA pool that you guys might have within your recruitment company.
Yeah, so we've definitely seen both. We've seen I've seen chief of staff that have been promoted, and they've usually been there for quite some time. So they've been with the business 5 to 10 years, and they've grown within that, and that's happened recently. But we've also had new instructions where they're looking for a really high level EA for that chief of staff. We've had quite a lot within tech. So yeah, I think it depends. And I think that the business is in a great position if they've had someone that truly understands the business and has been there for that time, or they've been elsewhere for a period of time and they're at that high level. So yeah, a bit of both, I would say.
Same here in the United States. Yeah. And it comes down to the word historian, right? The amount of information, especially with what Candace mentioned for the career admins. I mean, you're a historian, and it doesn't totally mean you have to be a historian only where you were and you then are not a historian within the new role that you've taken. But really a goal often should be, I need to become a historian at this, right? And then you're building out essentially the user manual for making change and value and impact.
Yeah, it's something that we've just started to really talk about within some of the communities that are part of Practically Perfect PA. And it's the value that should be put on the knowledge that you have about your organisation. Exactly as you said, Palani, it's